Thanks a lot for staying with us here at CNN News 18. I'm Ridhima Bhatnagar. In a pro-choice move, the Delhi High Court has gone on to say that the choice of the mother at the end of the day is the final as far as decision on abortion and pregnancy is concerned. The Delhi High Court said all of this as they allowed the termination of a 33-week pregnancy. The court, while hearing the petition of a 26-year-old woman, said, and I'm quoting, "It is her ultimate decision in matters of abortion ought to recognize a woman's choice to give birth and the possibility of dignified life of the unborn child." The single-judge bench of Justice Pratibha observed that while the right of a pregnant woman to terminate her pregnancy has been the subject matter of debate for years across the world, India as a country recognizes the choice of a woman in its law. As far as the present case is concerned, the petitioner had sought to terminate her pregnancy after she found out that her fetus was suffering from certain cerebral abnormalities. She said she was rejected by multiple hospitals who asked for judicial intervention. The judge, while permitting the woman to immediately undergo medical termination of the pregnancy, noted that the medical board unfortunately did not give a categorical opinion on the degree of handicap or the quality of the life of the fetus after birth, and thus opined that such unpredictability ought to weigh in favor of the woman seeking this termination of pregnancy. But on expected lines, experts are divided. Many feel such a ruling would open a Pandora's box. So the larger question is this a remedy for exception cases, or is this a dangerous precedent? So let's now first talk to you about what this case was all about. Let's break down the details of who the petitioner was and what was her case. It was a 26-year-old woman who had approached the High Court after being refused abortion. Now, what was the specific case that was highlighted as far as this woman is concerned? The woman had highlighted that her fetus had abnormalities, and initially she said that all the ultrasounds didn't raise any red flag. The woman, as I pointed out earlier also, was rejected by multiple hospitals. The hospitals on their own part, they had sought a judicial intervention as well. 24 weeks, remember, was the permissible limit, so the hospitals wanted some sort of legal help. The medical board said that the fetus was compatible with life. Doctors also went on to say that the quality of life can't be commented upon. The petitioner then said, right to life is equal to right to live with dignity. So what did we actually hear from the Delhi High Court today? And why are we seeing experts divided? The Delhi High Court today said, and they allowed the medical termination. Permission was given to undergo the termination at 33 weeks immediately. The court also said the case highlights the woman's dilemma. What about the quality of the life that the fetus will have once the child is born? Acknowledge that this issue is not this simple. It's not black and white. There are complexities around this entire issue. The issue of abortion is bound to be difficult. As far as the role of the hospitals were concerned, the court also said that the LNJP hospital's report was incomplete and thus concluded that the mother's choice is ultimate. Before I bring in my other guests, I first want to bring in Pranchi Nirvan. She's the advocate as far as the petitioner is concerned. Prachi, we appreciate you joining us here on CNN News 18. Thank you so much for taking our time. I want to first begin by understanding a little background as far as the case was concerned. What was your petition? I want to specifically talk to you about your client's history. I believe when your client went for the initial ultrasounds, there was no red flag that was raised, so she couldn't really know whether there was any abnormality or not. So when was it actually first detected?
So I'll take you back to how it all began. Basically, the the petitioner is a married woman, as you all know, and she got married in the month of November 2021, and she conceived in the month of March of 2022. And post to that, she underwent certain medical examinations. The ultrasounds were conducted upon her basically in 4 weeks of her pregnancy, which was very early onset of her pregnancy, and
Sure.
then no abnormality therein was detected. Thereafter, when she was 7 weeks pregnant, even then no abnormality was conducted. And months went on, she underwent certain medical examinations. It was only in her 30th week of pregnancy that on 12th of November 2022, she was detected that the fetus was suffering with cerebral abnormality.
Okay.
To say so in medical terms, the left lateral ventricle of the brain was dilated. And pursuant to that, on 12th of November, she underwent the said examination, and then to confirm the same, she underwent another medical examination before another hospital on 14th of November, and the same was confirmed. After that, a week later, she again went to another hospital to confirm the same. Thereafter, it was confirmed on 28th of November 2022. And on 29th of November, she went to GTB Hospital, who are the respondent number 2 in the present case. And thereafter, after taking note of all the medical examinations that my client underwent, she was referred to seek an order from the Honorable High Court so
Okay.
that they could process with the medical termination of her pregnancy.
Sure.
Since the reason, no reasons per se were accorded, they had basically stated that since the Act itself, the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 1971 stated that lays down that, the gestational period of pregnancy during which medical termination is permitted is within a bracket of 20 to 24 weeks. And since she had already been in that advanced gestational age of pregnancy, her
Sure.
medical termination of pregnancy request was
Okay.
not, entertained by GTB Hospital. That's how
Okay.
the case came up before us, and that's why we went to the High Court
Okay.
to seek
So,
orders from the Honorable Court.
sure. So, Prachi, I want to now also talk to you about the hospitals that were approached by your client. I believe there were two hospitals, the LNJP and the
Correct.
GDB hospital. What was the rationale that was given by both the hospitals? Why was the abortion rejected there?
So I'll just take you through it. So basically, when GTB was approached, they had turned it down, saying that you need an order from the court, we can't help you. However, they did not take into consideration that Section 32B of the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act does not accord any timelines vis-a-vis the gestational age of the woman. And apart from LNJP, since GTB does not have a constituted medical board as per the requirements of the Act. So the requirements of the Act are as follows. They are prescribed under Section 3 itself. So you need a gynecologist, you need a radiologist, and you need a pediatrician in order to ascertain whether a woman can undergo a medical termination of pregnancy
Sure.
or not, as per the Act. And only governmental hospitals, the hospitals which are maintained by the government as per Section 4 of the Act, can only conduct such medical termination of pregnancy. So, in other words, private hospitals cannot do the same.
Okay.
So, since GTB did not have medical board constituted, henceforth, during the conduction of the proceeding before the Honorable High Court on 2nd of December 2022, the Learned Council for the state itself had recommended that the petitioner could go to LNJP.
Sure.
And I might also submit this here that while going to LNJP, there were certain grievances that my client had faced. They were, despite the court's order, they were made to wait for they had gone at 10 a.m. in the morning, and they were asked to wait till 10:30 p.m.
Yeah, I
that
did
night.
see that in the fine print of the order copy, and that was a question that was raised by the judge, Judge Pratibha as well.
Yes,
I did see that in the fine print, correct. Prachi, quickly, I also want to understand, because, the jury is divided today. The court observed that cases like these highlight the dilemma of a woman because, it's
Correct.
not black and white. But critics are
Definitely.
asking, then where does it stop? Doesn't it open a Pandora's box?
So, I would like to bring something of utmost importance here. India is one of those countries who appreciate and appreciate the reproductive rights of a woman. And it's a case to case basis decision that has to be taken in certain cases whether a woman wishes to keep the child or not, because she, as it has also been laid out by Justice Singh in her judgment as well, that a woman is the ultimate life giver to a child, and she is the ultimate person who holds that discretion whether to give birth to a child or not. Although it's been a matter of debate across countries,
Sure.
and as famous as something that has happened, as recent as something that has happened in the United States of America.
Correct.
As opposed to that, I consider it's a very progressive judgment that has been passed by the Honorable Delhi High Court in this
Sure.
regard. And the
Sure.
thing is that
No, I agree with the
there's
point
no
that you're making,
straitjacket
that,
formula like you
as we
pointed.
said, that this is not that easy. It's not black and white. Every
Definitely.
case is, has to be seen as an exception. Also, you have to see the personal angle and the emotions involved in each
Definitely.
case, and the guarantees that if you do go forward with the pregnancy, what is the quality of life that the child will have. Prachi, unfortunately, I'll have to leave that conversation there. We really appreciate you taking out the time and helping us understand the case timeline so far. So the question that we're asking this evening is, even as the Delhi High Court has allowed this woman to go forward with the termination of pregnancy at 33 weeks, is this now going to be seen as a remedy, or is it really threatening? Let me also now bring in our other guest to take this conversation forward. We have gynecologist Dr. Nidhi Jha. We also have an activist, Barkha Trehan. We also have an advocate from the Supreme Court, Anubha Rastogi. We also have activist, Prisha Shetty. Good to have all of you on the broadcast with us. And Barkha, I'd like to begin the conversation with you. While many are already hailing this pro-choice move, saying that yes, at the end of the day, the decision needs to be of the woman because she needs to go forward with the entire process of pregnancy, I know you have a slightly different view. Why do you feel that a ruling like this could be problematic?
Yes, I feel that ruling like this is totally problematic. We're living in New India, where feticide is encouraged via courts. This is ridiculous. In the garb of personal choice, how can we do this? Is it only a mother's choice to keep a child? What about the father's choice? Secondly, it is going to harm the woman also. I have seen so many women discussing this. Even Pratibha ji, the judge, Justice Pratibha, being a woman, has given such a judgment. Unborn child will be killed. It's a murder. It's a murder of a full human being. So are we promoting murders? This is not acceptable at all.
So, Barkha Trehan, help me understand this. Help me understand this. If you heard the case timeline, as far as this 26-year-old woman is saying, she is saying that I wanted a normal delivery. I wanted a normal child like any other parent would. When I went for my initial ultrasounds, there was no red flag that was raised. So I could never believe in my wildest dreams that my child could have any sort of abnormality or my fetus could have any sort of abnormality. It was only much later in the stage that we even realized that there was some sort of abnormalities. Now, the larger question is, do you want to give birth to a child where the quality of life is already under question? And more importantly, do we today have the logistics to take care of children who are born with some sort of deformities, disabilities, also considering the fact the financial and economic situation of every parent, which is different? So can we really paint the entire canvas with the same brush?
See, I agree with you to some extent.
Am I
But at
supposed
the
to
same
answer
time-
this
No,
question?
one sec. I'm just asking Barkha this.
I agree.
We
I
are
agree to you.
gynecologists.
Can we see?
Barkha,
Can
go
I
ahead.
speak?
Barkha, go ahead.
Yeah. See, to some extent, I agree with you. But what? See, even if the premature babies are given birth in this country and they survive, there are some problems initially, but everything is fine after that. So can we kill just for this case, if we can we kill the child? It is a murder, a full-fledged murder. Can we promote murders?
Okay.
My only question is,
I
can
wouldn't
we
go.
kill human life?
I wouldn't want to go into extremities, and I wouldn't want to go for us to jump the gun as well. And that's why we have the medical experts on the panel as well. Dr. Niji Jha, I want to bring you in. At 33 weeks, help us understand how formed is the fetus, and more importantly, even when the woman goes forward with the termination of pregnancy, are the risks involved?
Very importantly, I would like to say whenever a fetus is diagnosed with something abnormal, especially the brain, it is very, very important to know that many a times the child is handicapped. Handicapped means the intelligence level is not as far to a normal child. The baby might not able to sit, might not able to stand, might not be able to speak the whole childhood and the adulthood. Do you want this kind of a baby? You want to get this kind of a baby in this world who is not able to sustain his or her life? And do you want this kind of a child in not surviving by itself? Do you want to give this kind of child to a mother? I totally disagree. I am 100% with the Court Act. I'm 100%. I'm very happy that the Court of Honor has given this judgment, because any cerebral palsy, any cerebral abnormality in the child, am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Any anomaly with the child, this is a good decision which is taken. And if you'll go to the amendment of the law itself says that after 24 weeks, you can, the court will be able, the mother will be able to terminate the child if the child is a result of rape.
But this is where the other end of the spectrum comes in, and this is what the question was raised by the judge as well. Anubha Rastogi, Anubha Rastogi, this is where I want to bring you in. The larger question that was raised by Justice Pratibha as well, that are we now living in a world where we want only quote-unquote perfect children to be born? With the kind of advancement that we've seen in technology, we should be able to cater to such sort of complications and issues as well.
So, and with due respect to the panelists, I do want to say this, that what the court is finally saying, yes, I completely agree that there was this observation made by the court yesterday when the matter was being heard. However, it doesn't find space in the judgment if one reads the 33-page judgment that was pronounced today. What the court has now done, and what is exactly what the law and its interpretations is saying, is that it is the decision of the pregnant person. If the pregnant person decides that she or the pregnant person wants to continue with a pregnancy which has fetal anomalies, it is the decision of the pregnant person. One cannot say that the law is not saying that because you have XYZ kind of a fetus, you shouldn't have it, and you should only have the pregnancy should only continue for some perfect fetuses, so to speak, for the lack of a better term. What the court and the judgment is saying is that it is the decision of the woman, of the pregnant person, and that's it. Even though the MTP Act, which is now 51 years old rather, does not keep the pregnant person at the center of the law, but it does not keep the fetus at the center of the law either.
Okay.
It keeps the service provider, that's the registered medical practitioner, at the center of the law. It is in the interpretations that we have recently also from the Supreme Court and today from the Delhi High Court, where we see that the law is being read to ensure that the pregnant person is the one who's deciding what needs to happen with its body, with her body. And it's really that. I mean, I really do have a lot of concern with the kind of language that is being used, because the law is not saying that you can only have XYZ kind of children. It's not a murder. It's not a feticide. It is something that the law allows.
Sure.
It is something that the law recognizes. It is something that the law permits. It is something that has been upheld to, within the realm of our constitution. So it is really very, very problematic and troubling that these kind of words are being used. And frankly, it is really up to you. You don't want to terminate a pregnancy of this nature. Please don't. The law is not forcing anyone to continue a pregnancy,
Sure.
and therefore the law should also not. The law is not forcing anyone to terminate a pregnancy, and therefore the law should also not force anyone to to continue a pregnancy.
Okay.
It
I
is
think
really
that
the choice of the
distinction that she
pregnant
is
person.
making as far as what the law states, there is no forcing on either side, neither to continue with the pregnancy, neither to terminate with the pregnancy. And Trisha, this is where I want to bring you in. Thank you for patiently waiting. The net takeaway was that the last word needs to be of the mothers, because at the end of the day, she is the one who's going through the pregnancy. It is her dilemma. Her body is going through these changes. Do you believe that's how this should be seen?
Of course, it fundamentally comes down to recognizing the right to have autonomy over one's body, right? So as the advocates before have highlighted so eloquently and vehemently, right now we're seeing what's happening with the world's oldest democracy, the United States of America,
Right.
where they are debating upon this very principle of, does a woman have autonomy to make decisions over her own body, decisions that should strictly remain between a woman and a medical practitioner, right? There that is being put under question and debate, where a woman is being deprived of that right by legislators who have no business entering these private discussions. In India, by contrast, the world's largest democracy, here we have a beautiful judgment, a judgment that not just as women, as a society as a large, we can celebrate, because the basis and a metric of any society is how we treat are most vulnerable and how we treat our women. In this case, the justice highlights that this is a severe dilemma that a woman herself undergoes. So these people here who come on debates, then be it in America or here, crying foul of murder, it is infanticide, it is you're committing murder. Firstly, the justice here recognizes that the most severe dilemma in these cases is faced by the mother herself.
And
the
more
one who's
importantly,
forced to
aren't
carry
we
the-
advocating safer abortion like this? Because considering the fact today you have women running from pillar to post in some shady shelters, if you have a legal binding on paper, then you're also advocating safer abortion as far as a woman is concerned.
Exactly. And the second thing to highlight, whenever people, society as a large, tries to interfere between a woman's private decision and put these moral questions about, oh, you're committing murder, where are these people when the child is born and the child's economic and financial responsibility has to be borne?
Yeah.
None of these people will be there, right? Here, the judgment also highlights that the decision has been taken by the learned justice, also accounting for the economic and social condition of the mother. And therefore, the statement made by the justice where they say that the ultimate decision in such cases of abortion ought to recognize the choice of the mother, and also critically the possibility of a dignified life of the unborn child, is something we should all celebrate. And to those who keep saying this is murder, this, that, I really want to understand, where are you when these children are born and they need financial care, when they need social assistance, when they need care in
That's why I
education?
started this, debate with Barkha Drian to try and understand that when we say let's go forward as far as this pregnancy is concerned, considering the fact red flags have been raised, do we have the kind of logistical support for parents, young parents, to even go forward and let their child have a privileged or dignified life? Do we have that kind of logistical support, and are we assuming that everybody comes from the same economic strata? But I want to go back to the gynecologist on the panel, Dr. Nidhi Jha. What I'm essentially trying to understand is, even as you said that you hold the judgment that we saw today, or the ruling, in high regard, the counter to this has been that the neurosurgeon, there were two doctors on the panel when this hybrid hearing was taking place. There was a gynecologist and there was a neurosurgeon. When asked as far as whether the quality of life will be impacted or not, the neurosurgeon actually couldn't really assess the kind of impact the fetus would have if the pregnancy had to go forward. So that was left very ambivalent. It was left in a grey zone. More importantly, considering the fact that we've seen so much advancement with technology, surgeries can take place post-birth as well.
Ridhima, very importantly, I want to highlight one thing. There are shunt surgery there are surgeries which can be done, and which is done in many cases where the mother does not want to terminate the baby. But the latest outcome, the outcome which will happen after 4 or 5 years of the when the child grows up, you cannot right now tell, nobody can right now tell that how good will be the quality of life of the
Sure.
baby. That is actually very difficult to say, because brain itself is a very complicated structure, and the every area of brain is mapped for some specific work. Okay, while doing surgery, what will happen and which part of the brain is affected mostly, it's difficult to say. And still, after this much of advancement, whatever the neurosurgeon said, he said it right. Because nobody can expect, even for any of the surgeries which we do, we
Sure.
do same kind of surgery for different
And I think
patients.
this was pretty
but
much
the outcome
what
is
the gynecologist on this hearing also said. And this is where I want to bring Barkha Tran back in the conversation. You know, Barkha, I know you have a very extreme point of view as far as this entire ruling is concerned. But listen to what the gynecologist, even as far as this hearing is concerned. If you go to para 21, as far as this final judgment is concerned, Dr. Rachna Sharma, the gynecologist, stated when asked whether there was a risk as far as termination is concerned, she went on to say that the pregnancy is almost at full term and the risks for the mother associated with medical termination at this stage would be exactly the same as those associated with the delivery of a child in a normal course. So where is the problem?
The problem is still there. It is risk for the woman's life. I don't understand. I have also spoken to many gynecologists who's told me that it is risky for the woman as well. We are not considering this factor. And secondly, I'm again repeating on your panel, it is a court-sanctioned murder. Why are we murdering? Why can't the government bring in such measures? Why can't we have fully equipped doctors who can deal with such situations? With even if there is some handicapped child born, why can't we have a better treatment for them and many other?
But that's the larger question, Barkha. Will it be fair on that child who will be brought in with so many difficulties, with so many deformities? Will he or she be able to live a quote-unquote normal life? Will it be fair for the young parents to also have this added responsibility?
Not murdering them. What about his choice? You never talked about his choice. What about the father's choice? Has the fathers been even taken into this discussion?
Barkha Tran,
are they only
I would request you to actually go and read the final judgment. The woman and the man would together. This was a joint petition.
What next?
The judge also spoke to the husband.
I'd really like to come
and they both.
What next? I am talking about the future. After this judgment, there will be
Trisha, I know you want to come in. Trisha,
where people will have a discussion.
Trisha, quickly.
They will have something.
Again, it comes down fundamentally to whose autonomy are you respecting, right? This is a democracy, and a democracy guarantees us certain fundamental rights, and the right to autonomy over one's body should not be one that we debate over. Again, for people making uneducated opinions like this is murder, we should refer to what the doctor on the panel has said. The doctor on the panel has not used such statements. We should refer to the people who've had access to the petitioner's medical records. What have they said? None of them have made these ridiculous sort of sensational remarks.
And
like
that's
this
why
is
I
murder,
said, because none of us are
murder.
medical experts, I wanted to quote what the doctors, two doctors, one neurologist and one gynecologist quoted, and why this was actually seen as an exception and why the Delhi High Court went forward with a ruling like this. Unfortunately, I've completely run out of time. I'd like to thank all our guests. With that, it's a wrap from my side. News continues here on CNN News 18.